All rise. This honorable court is open pursuant to adjournment. The Honorable Sarah Leoy, Chief Judge, United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, presiding. Please be seated for the introduction of the court. For the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, the Honorable Donald C. Nugent. The Honorable Patricia A. Gaughan. The Honorable Dan Aaron Polster. The Honorable J. Philip Calabrese. The Honorable Charles Eskew Fleming. The Honorable Amanda M. Knapp, Magistrate Judge. The Honorable Reuben J. Shepard, Magistrate Judge. For the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of Ohio, the Honorable Jessica E. Price Smith, Chief Judge. The Honorable Susanna Kristevsky Cook. The Honorable Arthur I. Harris. For the Supreme Court of Ohio, the Honorable Michael P. Donnelly. For the 8th District Court of Appeals, the Honorable Kathleen A. Keough, Administrative and Presiding Judge. The Honorable Lisa B. Forbes. The Honorable Michelle J. Sheehan. For the 11th District Court of Appeals, the Honorable Robert J. Patton. For the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas, the Honorable Brendan J. Sheehan, Administrative and Presiding Judge. The Honorable Richard A. Bell. The Honorable Timothy W. Clary. The Honorable Cassandra Collier Williams. The Honorable William T. McGinty. The Honorable Sherry M. Midday. The Honorable John J. Russo. The Honorable Deborah M. Turner. For the Cuyahoga County Domestic Relations Court, the Honorable Diane M. Palis. The Honorable Colleen Ann Riali. For the Cuyahoga County Juvenile Court, the Honorable Nicholas J. Celebrezzi. For the Cleveland Municipal Court, the Honorable Michelle D. Early, Administrative and Presiding Judge. The Honorable Suzanne Marie Sweeney. For the Cleveland Housing Court, the Honorable W. Mona Scott, Administrative Judge. For the Cleveland Heights Municipal Court, the Honorable J.J. Costello. For the Lakewood Municipal Court, the Honorable Tess Neff. For the Rocky River Municipal Court, the Honorable Joseph T. Burke. The Honorable Donna Congeni Fitzsimmons. For the Shaker Heights Municipal Court, the Honorable Ann Walton Keller.
Please be seated. Good afternoon. It is an honor and a privilege to preside over this annual Bench Bar Memorial Program. On behalf of my colleagues at the United States District Court, my colleagues at the state, county, and municipal courts, and the leadership of our Greater Cleveland Bar Association, I welcome all of you who have gathered as we remember and celebrate those we have lost this past year. To the families of those we remember today, please accept our deepest sympathy and heartfelt condolences for your loss. We hope that this special ceremony will convey to you that we grieve with you in your loss. We grieve because those we remember today, your family members, were our colleagues and our friends. They were members of our legal community family, and we will miss them. And although we gather with heavy hearts as we mourn those that we have lost, we also gather in celebration of their lives and the life commitment they made to serve in the legal profession. We gather to celebrate their accomplishments and achievements. We gather to celebrate their commitment to the rule of law and to justice. We gather to celebrate their service to others and to their communities. We gather to remember and honor them and to tell their stories. In this spirit, I now call upon the Honorable John J. Russo, President of the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association, for the opening remarks.
So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. It's an honor and privilege for me to be here today as the president of the Bar Association, but also as the president. This gathering is one, for me, that is so very important. It's really one of my favorite, if not my favorite, because of the meaning that it has for us as bar lawyers that participate in the Bar Association. So this memorial program really does allow us the opportunity this afternoon to remember, to reflect, and honor those who have served, as I would say, guardians of the rule of law. It is important that we celebrate the lawyers, public servants, as judges for their contributions to our profession. I thank all of you for being here today as well as we recognize those who are in our memorial program. I do just want to share some thoughts regarding the program itself. So when I had an opportunity last week to look through the memorial program that you have with you, I was able to distinguish just a few areas that I would like to address today. Individuals who are past either presidents or involvement in the Bar Association, that would be the Cleveland Bar Association as well as the Cuyahoga County Bar Association. Former employees of the United States Attorney General's office that I want to recognize as well here today. Prominent defense lawyers are important as I went through that program. Unfortunately, a number of individuals who were only in their 30s that we lost. And then finally, public servants. When we have a minute just to look, I don't want to single out or not single or speak about someone individually, but there were a few that I wanted to. When you look at past presidents, so right off the bat, you think of Jerry Gold. Jerry was the Cleveland Bar president. He was the president from 1982 to 1983. Not only would he be listed in my criminal defense lawyers who were stellar criminal defense lawyers, but he's also one, when you think about what he left in the bar during his time as president, when he was president of the Cleveland Bar Association, he launched the Cleveland Attorney Seeking equity program to recruit attorneys to represent indigent clients on pro bono basis. And Jerry really left that lasting impression for all of us that make up the bar today. Going to Joe Schneider. Joe was president of the Cuyahoga County Bar from 1985 to 1986. And he's a partner, was a partner in the formation of Myers, Henteman, Schneider, and Rhea. Liz Mooney. Liz Mooney was the CBA president, so the Cleveland Bar, and she was the president from 1987 to 1988. She created what we still have today as the Women in Law section. Back then, it was a commission on the women in law, and then that is one of our largest law sections that we have at the Bar Association that Liz was able to create and then continue to have its vibrance today as well. And then Chris Mayer, who we recognize, he was the CMBA treasurer in that capacity. So those jumped off as comments that I wanted to make. You know, it was a sad day and actually a sad week at the United States Attorney's Office last year. In the same week, they lost 3 of their attorneys and or public servants. So Emily Sweeney, she was the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio for a number of years. And I'm not sure if Margaret is here or if she's participating by Zoom. Margaret's here. You know, not only remembering your mom, Margaret is also in attendance, is Emily's daughter. She's also an assistant U.S. attorney. But not only losing Emily, we lost Judge Randolph Baxter over at the United States Bankruptcy Court. He was a judge in Akron, and then later years he was also in Cleveland. He was also an assistant U.S. attorney before being appointed. And then that same week, we lost Nancy Kelly. Nancy was an assistant U.S. attorney in Cleveland. So it was a sad week to lose the stellar public servants that we had working over at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So again, you wouldn't pick that out of the program, but I thought it was something to at least comment on today as well. Looking at prominent criminal defense lawyers, and I only say prominent because for me, they were prominent, but if you just pause and think about the effect that they had in the greater Cleveland area, when I started, you know, back in 1992 and hung my shingle, that was the very first thing I did is go down to the court and meet some of those stellar lawyers so I could be a sponge, which I think was important for me and the foundation that I had as a lawyer. But to have a chance to sit with Jerry Gold, Angelo Leonardo, Big Ange, Brian McGraw. Angelo Leonardo, I know he practiced in the federal court with a lot of the judges that are here today, and then also in our court. You know, fantastic storyteller, but also someone that knew my family. His dad and my dad knew each other growing up as well. And Brian McGraw, just again, a stellar defense lawyer who had an opportunity to make his impact in our courts as well. Those 3 that passed away in their 30s, I did not know personally, but I know Betsy Anderson, I think, was roommates and friends with Carrie Burns, who is part of the Bar Association. Amanda Miller Boynton, also friends with our president-elect, Matt Besser, and then Sherry Collins as well. So we lost 3 brilliant minds, 3 wonderful people, much too early that we remember here as well. And then finally, public servants. If you just look through that list really quick, you can't miss Ron Motto, right? The father of the lottery and a state senator. You know, when I first came, Justice Donnelly and I would go to lunch with him every once in a while just to hear some of his stories. He'd bring along his son, who's taken over in his footsteps as a lawyer, who's respected here in the community. My wife would speak about him often as well, so she's just recently retired after 30 plus years at the Ohio Lottery. but really the father of the lottery. We remember him as well. Gerald First, he is our last elected clerk of courts before we move to the current system that we have now. And when didn't you see him for all of us in our practice? Anytime you came into the building, he's very quiet, but always smiling when you came in. And Jerry ran that office in an efficient way for all of us. And so we recognize him. William McCoy, mayor of Huntington Valley, is also someone that we remember and celebrate today. And then finally, public servants as judges. I know that we mentioned already Judge Baxter, Judge Henneman, Pat Heeman, excuse me. She was the first female magistrate judge of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, and we remember her. I think Judge Sheehan will mention a little bit about Judge Suster, but Judge Suster was just fantastic when I took the bench back in 2005, someone that you can just go knock on his door. He continued to be active even when he retired with some visiting judge, but somebody that you could follow in his footsteps and know that you were following in the right footsteps. And then finally, I was looking for Michael Russo's wife, and I don't know if Becky's here, but oh, who is that, Peter? Hey, Peter, how are you? Yeah, thanks for being here. So Michael was my cousin, and so I just want to say a few kind words for him. So he was 2 years on the bench before I got elected, and when I did get elected, he said, "Come on, John, there's an opening on the floor on 17. Why don't you take up right next to me?" And who better to learn from than Michael, a person who truly was a guardian of the rule of law, who loved to tell stories, who, when he went on vacation, would take a train to go to all parts of the United States. Just loved doing that with his wife. Raised a beautiful family, and we'll be celebrating a wedding here soon for you. And, just to remember Michael, his fight for life, because he truly loved life, but he loved the law and he loved his family. And I hope I continue to follow in his footsteps, and I hope others would feel the same for me, that love my family, I love the law, and that what I do as a judge is respected. And so those individuals, I just wanted to point out as they either have a connection to me and or an opportunity for me to just make a couple notes. There's one thing in your book that you might say, is this a mistake? And when I was reading it, it took me a minute. So there's a picture of Marjorie Kitchell and Spencer Neath. And it's the same picture. And you might say, the bar messed this up. They put the same picture. But in fact, that's Marjorie and Spencer together. And we lost both of them in the same year. They married, I think, second marriages and continue to practice and have a great practice. Their kids became great friends, and we'll miss both of them. But I thought it was interesting that they both submitted the same picture that you see in your book as well. So thank you for letting me share a few moments and words with respect. Again, I could go on for everybody in there in our memorial recognition, but I can't. But I do thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here on one of my favorite days to celebrate, and in this capacity as the bar president. I am going to call on Judge Kehoe and Judge Early and Judge Sheehan and let them all have an opportunity to speak as well to you. So thank you, Judge Kehoe.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Judge Kathleen Kehoe from the 8th District Court of Appeals. And on behalf of my colleagues, it's my honor to come here today to express from all 12 of us our deepest sympathies and thoughts for your family members. It's been interesting to read their stories and their career stories, but we recognize that these are your family members, and we wish you nothing but good memories and peace. And again, we express our deepest condolences on behalf of the court. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Early, and I'm the administrative and presiding judge of the Cleveland Municipal Court. I would like to thank the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association for hosting this special memorial program. I am honored to be here to speak on behalf of my colleagues and to offer our condolences to the family and friends of those who lost a loved one this past year. Most of the people I know who went into the practice of law chose law to make a difference and to have a positive impact on the world. When I look at the list of honorees, I know the positive impact the honorees had on the administration of justice. The list includes trailblazers like U.S. Bankruptcy Judge Randall Baxter, the first African American appointed to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court of the Northern District of Ohio, fierce advocates that I practice with like attorney Angelo Leonardo and Timothy Gautner, judges that I practice in front of like Ronald Suster and Judge Michael Russo, and a large number of judges and lawyers who have made a difference through their hard work, dedication, and their commitment to the law. They not only made a positive impact on the legal profession, but they also made a positive impact on our community and the lives of their families and friends. The legal profession is better today because of the people we are here to honor. We are grateful for their accomplishments and contributions. The community is stronger for the work they did, and our lives are better because we knew them. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brendan Sheehan, and I have the honor to stand here and represent the Cuyahoga County General Division Court. We're gathered here today not to mourn, but to honor the memory of those esteemed judges and dedicated lawyers we've lost this past year. Each one of them has left an indelible mark on the Cuyahoga County legal community, and we feel their absence. These individuals stood as pillars of integrity, wisdom, and compassion. They dedicated their lives to upholding the rule of law and ensuring that justice was served, regardless of the challenges they faced. The judges we remember today were guardians of fairness and impartiality in our courts. They approached each case with compassion, and their decisions were guided by the respect for the law and its purpose. The lawyers are advocates for those in need, champions of the voiceless, and defenders of our rights and freedoms. Those we honor today fought tirelessly, and their passion for the law inspired all of us who had the privilege of working with them. But these were more than names on a courtroom bench or on a business card. They were our friends, mentors, and loved ones. They touched the lives of so many with their kindness, generosity, and unwavering support. They leave behind a legacy in the principles they upheld, the cases they adjudicated, and the lives they have touched. For that, we are forever grateful. Let us honor their memory by continuing the work that they started, by striving each day to make our legal system more just and equitable for all. May their legacies inspire all of us every day. Thank you.
Thank you, judges. In keeping with tradition, we will now have the recognition of decedents by Mr. Brian Ram, Mr. Delonte Spencer Thomas, Miss Rebecca Rupert McMahon, and Mr. Matthew Besser.
Elizabeth Anderson, Harold Babbitt, the Honorable Randolph Baxter, William Behrens, Amanda May Miller Bouton, Don Brown, Donald Caranova, Charles Clemenshaw, Ronald Coleman, Cherie Collins, Patrick Flanagan, Gerald First, Timothy Gauntner.
Richard P. Goddard, Gerald S. Gold, Robert N. Goodbranson, Kenneth M. Hanneline, the Honorable Patricia A. Heeman, Stephen D. Hopt, Michael T. Honahan, Donald E. Howard, Nancy Kelly, Marjorie Kitchell, Richard C. Klein, Peter J. Crims, Angelo F. Leonardo.
William C. McCoy, Brian R. McGraw, Robert A. McNew, G. Christopher Meyer, Kenneth R. Millizer, Kenneth R. Montlack, Elizabeth A. Moody, Ronald M. Model, Martin J. Murphy, Spencer Neff, Joel I. Newman, Donald Hazard Powers.
David J. Rossi, Sr., the Honorable Michael J. Russo, Joseph Schneider, Gregory D. Seeley, Catherine W. Smith, John L. Sterling, the Honorable Ronald J. Suster, Emily Sweeney, Gabriel S. Zabro, David J. Toko, Robert V. Tracy, Michael K. Wager, Alan D. Wright.
It is now my privilege to call upon the Reverend Joanna D. Agostino, Senior Minister, Lakewood Congregational Church, for some reflections.
Thank you so much. I'll start by just thanking the Honorable John Russo for inviting me for this opportunity and to share with you. And I want to thank all of you, and I want to thank the Bar Association in general for taking the time to do this, because we live in such a fast-paced world that goes so quickly that sometimes we brush past grief in a way that suppresses what we might be going through. And taking the time to set aside, to recognize, and to name, and to honor the people that we have loved and lost is incredibly important. And I thank you, and I respect that you've taken the time to do this. Today, I want to share a bit of a story about my grandmother, because I think it'll connect a little bit for you. My maternal grandma, Ethel Wright Wagner Smyers. She passed away about 2 years ago, around 93. And it wasn't a sad loss at that time because we were ready to let her go. She was had kind of lost the ability to use her body and her mind in a way that was meaningful a couple of years prior. And so any sadness that we would have felt was washed away by the joy and the gratitude that we got to love her. You know that feeling? It occurs to me, I've had a lot of other losses in my life, but especially in one like that, you think that when you choose to love people, you choose to grieve. When we sign up to love people, when we recognize that we are going to be connected and make friends and all of that, that we are going to have to, at some time or another, experience loss. Sometimes that is death. Sometimes it is just disappointment or estrangement or just the loss of a relationship that we wished for. But there's no question for me that it is worth it to choose love. It's worth it to make new friends and to make connections and to love people. It's worth it to build relationships with our colleagues and our family members and our friends. So in 1995, when my grandma was almost 70, she gave a journal to my brother and I when we were young, and it's full of many beautiful thoughts, but I want to share with you this one. She wrote about her wish for the future, and this is what it said. She said, "My wish for the future is that there will be racial, ethnic, and religious harmony throughout the world. Each person will find it possible to have adequate shelter and food, clothing, education, and relationships that bring him or her happiness and love. No longer will there be wars, and plagues will be a thing of the past. I would hope that every woman would have the right to control her reproductive system and that family planning is a way of life deemed necessary by both men and women." My grandma was a bit of a firecracker. Then she said, "Knowing and understanding the need every child has for a secure home base, I would dream that this will be a reality for all children." And then she wrote, "Dreams are an escape from reality, though. Putting them into action is far more difficult. Hopefully, the actions of many will make this dream a reality. However, it will not happen in my lifetime. My wish is that it might happen in yours." So I want to reflect on that. It will not happen in my lifetime. My wish is that it might happen in yours. Now, I couldn't argue this with my grandma, but I will push back on her a little bit now, because I don't think it's true that we can say that it didn't happen in her lifetime. And I also don't think it's true that it will happen in mine. It's always the both and of the journey. My grandma, like many of our loved ones that we mentioned today, faithfully and courageously participated in the progress of this dream. And so we can't say that it happened in her lifetime, but we also can't say that it didn't happen. The world she described of love and harmony and happiness and security is a world that has been here all along. And at the same time, it is just out of reach. In my tradition, in my faith tradition as a Christian pastor, we call this the already and the not yet promise of God's glory. The already and the not yet. That the kingdom of God has already come and it is just out of reach. When asked to speak today, I thought about that phrase, "It will not happen in my lifetime, and my wish is that it will happen in yours." And it made me think a little bit about that powerful phrase from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that I know you all know so well. "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." I imagine that many of the names that were read today, and as I read through their bios and learned about them a little bit, I imagine that many of those people dreamed of that reality that the long arc of the moral universe will bend towards justice. I imagine that many of them dreamed of a world where all was just and that everyone followed all the right laws, and that every child was fed and had a safe home. I imagine that each of those people experienced the already and the not yet of the dream. God's glory is always in that already and that not yet. The love and harmony and the happiness and security have already happened, and yet they haven't happened yet. They are happening today, even in the midst of war and prejudice and disease. The actions of many make our dream a reality. They bend the world towards justice. The actions of the peoples whose names we read today and the actions of those of you still in this room are bending that reality towards justice, making that dream come to life. So it's important to me to remember that when we are in despair, we do not grieve as others do who do not have hope. That's from 1 Thessalonians 4:13 in my tradition. We do not grieve as others do who do not have hope. But we do still grieve. We are still sad. We do still miss our loved ones and yearn for a world with them in it. But we do not grieve as others who don't have hope, because we know that the ones we loved planted seeds that someday may grow, that we build foundations upon which the next generation will build. We deepen our roots of love and compassion and justice, and we generate new growth of justice and mercy. So I am so proud to be a part of my grandma's story, to be a part of making that dream a reality that I know she did accomplish in her lifetime, and I know that I'm accomplishing in mine. And I think many of you might relate to that type of wish, that you are proud to be a part of the stories of these names who we read today, part of the stories of your loved ones and your colleagues, the people who laid the groundwork for you to keep building up the dream of God, the dream of a just world. And so I'll just conclude in saying, as is written in Matthew 25:23, well done, good and faithful servants. Well done, good and faithful servants. And thanks be to God that we do not grieve as others do who do not have hope. Thank you.
Reverend D'Agostino, thank you for those inspiring, thoughtful, and thought-provoking remarks. Thanks also to all of our speakers and all of those responsible for making this special program a reality. And finally, thanks to all who are gathered here today to honor and to celebrate the lives of these remarkable contributors to the legal profession. And as we conclude this beautiful and heartfelt ceremony, let us pledge to always remember those we have honored and celebrated today and to tell their stories. For as the great lawyer, statesman, and philosopher Cicero said, the life of the dead is placed in the memory of the living. That concludes our ceremony. Take care, be well, and stay safe.
All rise. This honorable court is now adjourned. please remain standing as our judges process out of the auditorium. Thank you. You are now welcome to exit and enjoy the reception.